This is one of the more unique trail trucks you're going to find in the RC world. It has a mechanical rear braking system that you need to see. How's it going, everyone? Greg here with RC Driver, and today we're going to do a first look and first drive on the new FMS model Canyon RS. It's a 1/10 scale, ready to run 4x4 with some pretty cool features. And I'll have an updated price in the video description along with links. Now let's get the camera pointed at this thing and take a closer look. When I first pulled this truck out of the box, I wasn't exactly sure what I was looking at, but after a little bit of research, I found out that it's modeled after a Nissan Armada. I'm not familiar with Nissan products, just to be completely honest with you, but apparently over in Dubai, there is a conversion company that is making or turning these things into patrol rigs, and that's exactly what this is modeled after. And looking at this truck, it's actually pretty cool, guys. There's a lot of detail that FMS has put into this. It's not licensed. The main section of the body is actually Lexan. It's got a lot of nice mold lines in it, but where the detail really is obviously in the molded pieces here. So the grille is molded along with the push bars in the front. We've got some LED lights and lenses. This body does light up with a switch on the radio system. I'll show you that in a bit. The front bumper, lower bumper valance is molded. Usual windshield wipers, mirrors, door handles, and actually this whole entire roof plate here is molded, and that's how you get some of the detail for the lenses that are in the front and rear for lights, although lights aren't included. And it even looks like these roof racks here have lights, or have the ability to put LED lights in them. And then the rear section, more molded parts, molded rear lower bumper. The headlights will light up, the turn signals will go on. And actually for the taillights, when you go in reverse, the red part lights up. Now it does have one of their interiors in it. It's got the FMS driver figure. His hat's already installed. There's some details on the dashboard, steering wheel, shifter, and some decals on the seats. Now, you probably noticed no body clips. To get the body off, all you have to do is turn this spin clip on the bottom and it should pop up. There's one, and in the back, there's two. The rear's a little sticky sometimes on this, but there's the interior. All the lights are glued in place. The wires are nicely wrapped in aluminum, and then there's the magnetic transfer for the electric. And there's the mating side mounted to the chassis. So there's a lot of new stuff going on in here for FMS. Starting off with the chassis, it's actually a molded composite chassis. Very cool looking design. It looks like it's really well braced. However, when I did the little twist test, just the slightest amount of twist does actually move the chassis. Nonetheless, this is a trail rig, so for flying down the trails and some light crawling action, I don't really see that being a huge problem. The battery is mounted in the center with Velcro straps to hold it down. We've got shock perches with multiple shock mounting locations. You can see the body mounting system front and rear that aligns the body just right. The only thing is you really have to push down on the body, get these things to lock in. It's a little on the tight side. Back to the chassis, like that they have inner fender wells and floorboards here to basically seal off the underside of the truck. Let me just flip this over really quick so you can see the center skid. A little bit of a ridge on this center here. Wish this was a bit more flat just to glide over any rocks that you might be encountering on the trails. But let's get into the suspension now. Really like the look of the shocks on this. So you got aluminum shock bodies and metal caps, metal lower caps. That shock shaft looks absolutely huge. The pivot balls are metal. Good looking shock, feels really good. Oil filled, of course. And then you flip it over and it's got a 3-link in the front with a panhard bar. They got a 4-link in the rear with a 5th link to stabilize it, and there just doesn't seem to be any axle sway front and rear, so that's pretty cool. Even on the front, there's the panhard bar set up, and it actually has metal steering links. The main link is metal, and then it's got a steering damper, which I'm not too big of a fan of because that can diminish your steering when you're crawling through rocks and stuff and you need that steering power to maybe wiggle your way out of a situation. Does have a metal servo horn. And then on all 4 corners, these grippy, familiar looking lug tires. These guys look just like a Hyrax tire. However, the dimensions are a little bit different. It's a little bit smaller, and I actually like how the sidewall is rounded just a little bit in comparison to a Hyrax, but that's definitely Hyrax inspired. They're glue mounted to this black wheel with the red detail on it, and there's some pretty stiff foam inserts on the inside of this. So yeah, more suited for trail use in my opinion. Moving on to the driveline. So this has a 2-speed transmission mounted in the center. You could shift that between low and high. So if you want to do some crawling or some high-speed trailing, you've got that option. And then ball bearings throughout. The shift mechanism looks like it works nice and smooth. And then it's got counter-rotating drive shafts. They're slider-style drive shafts with a CV-style yoke, and those made up with these portal axles here, which have a really good look to them. Definitely like the rounded pumpkin, and I like the way it flares down to the C-hubs, although these look like they're a pinch attachment. Not too big of a fan of those, although looking at it, it seems like they've locked it in properly. Then I really like the portal knuckles setup. It looks really heavy duty, dual shear for the steering link, plenty of clearance on that, metal gears on the inside, and then the differential. So check this out. It's got the locking differential. You can lock the front and rear independently, or you can leave them open. And now onto that big feature that I hinted on earlier in the video. Check out the rear braking system, guys. So this basically has a single wheel rear dig. And what happens here is when you go and push a button on the radio system, it activates this servo here to turn on. And so when you steer, it will lock up the inner wheel of what you're turning into. So if you're taking a left turn, this left rear wheel is going to lock up, and it's going to help pivot the truck even more to the left, and then vice versa for the right. Braking system looks kind of cool. Looks like they pulled it off an old Nitro vehicle. It's got brake pads and a brake piston in there to unlock the brake. So that looks pretty cool. It's not like the axial system where that locked out the differential. This one is mechanical, so there could be a little bit of slip to it, and once you let off the steering or deactivate it, it's not gonna maybe lock like the axial system unfortunately does. Sometimes it gets hung up, but I don't think this one's got to lock up. So I think it's done well. I think it's pretty interesting, especially for trail rig. Really excited to go out and try it, but let's check out the electronics. It's got a metal gear digital servo, no branding on that thing. I don't know the torque specs on that. Next, it's a 550 32 turn motor, just a brush motor setup, and that's powered by this WP 1060. That's a hobby wing system that we're familiar seeing in trail trucks with the XT30 plug on it. 2 to 3S. Then it's got an FMS radio system in it. There is the receiver with all the wires to control all 5 servos. 1 for steering, 2 for the differential locks, 1 for the 2-speed, and then the rear braking system. And then let me show you what else comes in the box, guys. We've got the FMS transmitter that we've seen before. Really good transmitter, actually, with the exception of the plastic wheel. I'll show you how all the functions work on the trail. Comes with some decals if you want to spice up the look of the body a little bit, some license plates, and there is your instruction manual. Let's head outside and drive the canyon. Decided to take the canyon to the falls, guys, because it's fall out and all the leaves are falling off the trees and it's all over the trails. Not going to make for very exciting crawling opportunities, but this spot right here is definitely an awesome spot for crawlers. You guys know that. Let's hit it. So I guess I'm starting off with the basics. It's in low gear, 2S battery pack, diffs are unlocked. And we'll start ramping up these features in a little bit. This thing's pretty capable with the diffs unlocked. It just crawled right up that thing. No problem. Nice smooth crawl in the system. It's geared pretty well in low end. See what kind of drag brake we got. Now what's really cool is there's a knob on the radio system that allow you to just drag brake. I do have my headlights on. Gotta have the headlights on. It's a little dark over here. Drop down the hill. That was a bit off camber. That could have rolled. So we got some pretty good handling out of this new chassis setup. Definitely love the way the suspension is moving too. Oh, there we go. So this is where we need to lock diffs, and I could probably just go lock the rear. And now I'll lock the front, and it should just pull right out of it. There we go. Just leaving the diffs locked because I've got an uphill climb right here. And I did just turn up the dual rate on the steering. There's always a little ledge here that causes a problem. Thought these Hyrax tires would do something and give it a little running start. There we go. Thought I was gonna have to throw it in high gear for a second. Got this ledge I gotta contend with. Whoa. Look at that smooth crawling in low gear. Like it, guys. What do you think? So this is where I usually do the speed drive-bys with other rigs, and I'll give you a first gear full throttle. That's it. Again, 2S battery pack. Now in high gear, that'll definitely walk away from you on the trail. Really like the suspension setup on FMS rigs lately. The Camel Trophy truck looks super scale. And this rig just, you know, floating over the rocks, keeping the chassis pretty level. And I only rolled it once so far. Unfortunately, the camera was off. Got to show you the braking system now. You hit the channel 4 button, and it's actually going to start beeping to let you know that it's engaged. And once you go and turn the wheel, it'll lock up that rear wheel, and look how tight it turns. You do have to go and unlock the diff to get the maximum potential out of it. Look at that. Locks up that rear wheel. Does just let it slip a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's a nice tight turning radius. Wow. That's cool. See, it lets go a little bit. Like initially it just locks right up and then it fades out a little. Might be able to adjust that with the tie rods, or the ball ends I should say, tighten them down a little bit. But man, that's a pretty awesome feature to have. The beeping that you hear during the brake activation gets a little annoying after a while, so I went and shut it off already. The other thing you need to know is if you do swap out your steering servo and it happens to be reversed from the stock servo, if you flip the switch on the radio system, it doesn't jive with this braking system, so it'll still brake as it's set from the factory, so it might actually lock up the other rear wheel instead. So that's something to be aware of. Just check your servo selection if you're upgrading. Got the differentials locked again because I'm going to run through this gnarly section here, show you guys the suspension working. Oh, look at that tilt. We got portal axles on here, so we got a little extra clearance. Look at that thing muscling through. I mean, this is some really rough stuff. I wonder how that steering damper is doing. Hopefully they offer a tie rod to get rid of that steering damper, but I guess it's probably pretty easy to make your own. Oh, a little off camber. I want to come down in the water. It's time to get the wheels wet, guys. Yeah, it handles pretty well. I definitely like these tires. I mean, I like Hyrax tires, so you gotta like these tires. And this is looking a little deep. I'm not gonna go too deep in the water. There we go, get the axles wet. Just trudging through, no problem. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to like the look of this truck now. Really surprised FMS didn't give us lights up in the rack. Maybe they have that as an option too. But, you know, usually you expect to see that from FMS. They just step it all up. I mean, everything else is loaded here on this truck. Wow, that was an awesome climb. Really nice, smooth rig. And I'm back at the workshop to wrap things up. So FMS has given us a pretty unique looking rig, and it was a lot of fun to drive out on the trails. It's priced at $450 here in the US, and that falls between some of the Axial rigs and some of the Traxxas rigs, and I think it's pretty well equipped. You got a 2-speed on here, you got that unique dig system in the back, you got locking differentials, pretty good tires on here, and the body, it's got a lot of detail to it, but you know, it's something that I think a lot of people would have to grow into liking. I don't think it's going to fit everyone's taste, but again, pretty unique, and it does work well on the trails. I did notice some fade to that rear dig system when I was out driving it, especially when I got it wet. It's pretty capable. I did notice that that steering damper kind of collapsed a number of times when I was trying to wiggle it out of some obstacles. So it's got its quirks to it, but it's kind of a standalone trail truck. And if you have to have something where people are going to stare at it out on the trail, I think this is definitely one of those machines. If you're into it, I'll have links for it in the video description below.